Hello guys, I am Vivek and you are watching Materials World, the world of future. Basically in this YouTube channel, I will be covering all the study materials of uh, three subjects of engineering science, and you can take any two subjects to give the GATE examination of taking the group engineering science or XC group, material science, polymer science and thermodynamics. So in this series of video lecture, I will be solving all question paper of material science first. Then after I will be solving other subjects like polymer science and thermodynamics. So today's video lecture will be about solution of GATE 2020 question paper of material science. So basically this video lecture can be extended to large, so it can be in part 1, part 2, part 3 type. So you can go for other parts for solution of other questions also. So here is section C, material science. So from question 1 to question 9, it will be 1 mark each. So first question is I think asked from scanning electron microscopy concept. So basically what's the question all about? A PVation sample of eutectic composition containing alpha and beta phases is examined in a shame. The alpha phase contains 97% Pb, the atomic number is 82, and while beta phase contains 99% Hn, atomic number is 50. So the ratio of the number of backscattered electrons escaping from alpha phase to beta phase. So basically this question is about, suppose it is given that if one's sample is a mixture of Pb plus Sn and Pb is 97%, Pb and Sn mixture, so alpha basically alpha plus beta phase mixture is there. So alpha phase is the phase where 97% of Pb is there and 3% Sn, and beta is the phase where 99% Sn is there and 1%, obviously 1% is Pb. So it is the mixture of alpha and beta. Okay, now it is saying that if it is analyzed by scanning electron microscopy, so what will be the ratio of backscattered electron coming from alpha to the beta? So what is the concept of same? So here is the same gun. Okay, so in if we just focus electron beams from the gun, and after striking, some signals and radiations radiated from the sample. So some will be X-rays, some will be other electrons, and some will be other luminescence, and one will be backscattered electron, and some will be secondary electron. So what about backscattered electron? Backscatter means, suppose the beam of electron is coming, and after interacting with the atoms, it just scattered. The same electron which is coming from the electron gun is just scattered. Those are called backscattered. Okay, so the bigger the atom will be, larger will be the number of backscattered electrons. So basically backscattered electron is directly proportional to the atomic number. So larger the atomic number, larger will be size. If the larger will be size, larger will be the number of backscattered electrons. So let's solve it. So basically the whole concept is we have to find out the ratio of number of backscattered electrons escaping from alpha phase to beta phase, right? So basically number of backscattered electron from alpha phase to the ratio number of backscattered electron to the beta phase. We know from any phase or any atom, simply backscattered electron is a number of backscattered electron is proportional to Z. So if it is alpha, so it will be Z alpha. Okay, if a number of backscattered electron from beta will be proportional to atomic number of major element of beta. So in beta, in alpha phase, major element is Pb 97% and atomic number is 82. So basically what it will be, if you divide or if you transfer remove this proportionality sign, so it will be if you remove proportionality sign, it will be some constant k Z alpha, and if you remove here also the proportionality sign, it will be some constant, suppose k by Z beta. So if you divide, this k will be cancelled out. So what we get exactly? So we get simply we get number of backscatter electron of alpha will be atomic number of element which is measured, okay, in alpha phase. So which is measured in alpha phase will be, that is PV, and the atomic number is 82. So atomic number of element which is measured in beta phase, okay. Here if it is beta, here will be beta. If here it is alpha, here it will be alpha, because directly proportional. So if it is in the above portion, numerator portion, this will also be, Z will also be in the numerator portion, okay. So basically what is measure portion in alpha, that is PV, the atomic number is 82. And what is the measure element in beta? So in beta the measure element is Sn, 99%, that is atomic number is 50. So 50, 82 by 50 is always greater than 1, okay. So answer is greater than 1. So answer is C. Let's check from the answer key. So I have already downloaded the answer key. So you can see here, this is section C, right? Question number 1. So question C. So basically where you can get, here is the question number 1. C, axis C, question number 1. So the answer is, you can see here, answer is C. So the answer is C. Okay. This is the way we find the right answer. So let's go to the next question. So in an optical microscope, it is asking about the smallest or minimum feature size that can be theoretically resolved, means about resolution, okay. So the smallest minimum feature size that can be theoretically resolved in an optical microscope does not depend. So what is the smallest or minimum feature size that can be theoretically resolved? That is resolution. So resolution in an optical microscope does not depend on what is the formula for resolution. So for resolution of optical microscope, that is Abbe formula. So that is Abbe's formula. So in lateral resolution, what is lateral? Suppose there is lens, there is objective lens, and there is condenser lens, and there is some. So let me again. So what will be the lateral resolution? Suppose the axis of optical microscope is this one, okay, and suppose we have put sample here, and there is objective lens, and there is condenser lens. There is condenser lens and there is objective lens. Here is the eye of human, okay. So we are seeing from here. So the lateral resolution means in XY direction, okay. In this is X, this is Y, in XY direction. Lateral resolution, okay. So lateral resolution is given by, that is D lateral is given by basically lambda by 2Na. So what is lambda? Lambda is the wavelength of that is light, that is 200 nanometer, or from 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer, and after that Na is the numerical aperture, that is n sin alpha. So n is basically, n is, what is n? N is refractive index, okay. So n is refractive index, and sin alpha is angular position or angular numerical aperture. So here we this is for lateral. For axial resolution, for point to point resolution, axial means in z direction, the axial resolution will be lambda by basically 2 lambda by Na square, okay. Yeah, I'm correct. So basically here also, so what is Na? So it will be 2 lambda by Na means n sin alpha the whole square. So in whole both formula, what we see, the resolution, let me change the color, okay. Resolution depends on wavelength of the radiation, incident ray, and the numerical aperture. And what is the numerical aperture? That is n sin alpha. So what is n? So basically resolution depends on wavelength, that is, and numerical aperture, and numerical aperture itself consists of refractive index and angular position. So basically, so basically now we know resolution depends on wavelength, refractive index, numerical aperture, okay, these three, and alpha is the numerical aperture, angular numerical aperture, okay. These are the things. So here does not depends, okay. Sometimes not is given in the capital letter, but still students forget to focus on not, and they just find out what where it depends on, okay. So always remember, many have done this mistake. So I have been teaching 2 batches of GATE classes for engineering science. I know where a student do the mistake. So the refractive index of medium between lens and the focal point, that is, yes, it depends on, so it is not going to be the answer. Intensity of radiation, here it doesn't depend on intensity, so basically intensity is answer. Wavelength, yeah, it depends, so it is not the answer. Numerical approach, yes, it depends, so it is not the answer. So answer is B, intensity of radiation. Okay, so if you wanna option question number 2 answer is B. If you wanna see the answer, let's see the answer key. So I have already downloaded, so here is the answer. See, question number 2, so our answer was B, and here also the question number 2 answer is B. So answer is B. So now, so let's go to the next question. So the question number 3 is from the symmetry, okay, and it is nothing but from rotational symmetry. Okay, so rotational symmetry, it is asking the rotational symmetry element that must be present in the system is. What is the rotational symmetry element? Whether it is 2-fold or 3-fold or 4-fold or 5-fold, whether it is 6-fold rotation or 2-fold rotation or 3-fold rotation or 4-fold rotation. So how to know how many fold of rotation it has the rotational symmetry element, which fold rotational symmetry element it has? Okay, any object. Okay, let's see, let's take example of rectangle. So here if you take the rotational symmetry element, so what is rotational symmetry element? If it is 2-fold, means it is repeating itself by 2 times. Okay, it is repeating itself by 2 times in whole rotation of 360 degree. If it has 3-fold rotational symmetry element, it means it is repeating itself if you rotate it complete one cycle, that is 360 degree. So here if you rotate it from 0 degree to 360 degree, we'll see it is repeating itself after every 180 degree. So 2 times it is repeating itself, so it has 2-fold rotation symmetry element. Okay, rotation symmetry element. So here if we rotate it, so if it was simply square, so it will rotate itself, it will repeat itself after every 90 degrees. So if you rotate it by 90 degree, okay, so it will repeat itself. So again after 90 degree it will repeat itself. So what's the so what will be the, how many number of folds will be there? So 360 by 90, so it will be completely 4 folds. So it is repeating by 4 times in complete 360 degree rotation. Okay, so what about this? Here there is a combination of 2 elements. Okay, it is combination of 6-fold rotational symmetry, that is hexagon, and it is combination of 4-fold rotational symmetry, that is what that is square. So basically, so let's see each element, the rotational symmetry element for each and every components. For hexagon, let's see. So we see if you see carefully, we understand each side will make 60 degree. Okay, so here it is 60 degree and completely it is 360 degree. So if we rotate by 60 degree, this portion will come here to this portion, and this portion will come here to this portion, and this portion will come here to this portion, and this portion will come here to this portion, and this portion will come here to this portion. Means if we rotate by 60 degree, the whole object will repeat itself, and if we rotate by 60 degree, we'll get the same. Okay, after every 60 degree we get the same object. Okay, so what we see, so 360 by 60, so it has 6-fold symmetry, and it is repeating itself by 60 degree. So if we the square is repeating by every 90 degree, so it is combination of both. So let's take it simultaneously. Okay, so square is repeating itself by 90 degree, but next this hexagon is repeating itself by 60 degree. The next portion, it will repeat itself by 180 degree, and it will repeat itself after 120 degree. So it will repeat itself by 270 degree, and it will repeat by 180 degree, and after that it will repeat itself by 360 degree, and of course it will repeat by 240 degree, and after 300 degree, and after 360 degree. So what you get? So the common will be the common angle will show the combined rotational symmetry. Means after 60 degree both will not repeat itself, after 120 degree no, both will not, but after 180 degree, okay, after 180 degree rotation of this hexagon, it is repeating itself, and after 180 degree of this square, it is repeating itself. It means 180 degree is the common rotational element for both. So basically, so both object will repeat itself after 180 degree and next after 360 degree. So how many repetition will be there? So it will be 2 repetition, because after 180 degree the square is repeating itself and the hexagon is also repeating itself. So both are repeating itself at 180 degree. So 360 by 180, it means it is 2. So both object will show two-fold symmetry. So you can try itself by you can also try itself by using participating in an activity. Just make one hexagon and make one square. It's so simple, and put hexagon there, and you can check after 180 degree. After 180 degree, all the whole object is repeating itself. You can check it by doing an activity. Okay. So answer is two-fold symmetry. So let's check whether our answer is correct. So answer is B. Question number 3. Okay. So question number 3 answer should be B. Here is the answer. You can see. Question number 3, the answer is B. So we have received 1 mark. Okay. So basically, it is the fundamental concept. Rotational symmetry is the fundamental concept of what symmetry portion of syllabus crystallography and crystal structure. Another thing for the knowledge, you always remember 5-fold symmetry is not possible in crystallography. Okay, 5 and 7 is not possible in crystallography. In nature, it is there. 5-fold symmetry is there. Like there are some flowers are there which shows 5-fold symmetry. Okay, but what is 5-fold symmetry? 5-fold symmetry means if you rotate it by 360 degrees, it will repeat itself by 5 times. Okay. So the next question is from density of states. So for better understanding of density of states, and for understanding the explanation and definition of density of states, please visit my YouTube video then on density of states. Okay, I have already explained very well, so you can understand from there. For solving purpose, I am just giving some formula or some variation. Okay, so basically density of state varies for different dimension of materials. For 1D material, it varies to the e to power minus half power with energy. And what is next? For density of state for 2-dimension material like the thin films, it don't vary. Okay, it is constant. So it is constant. Okay, it doesn't vary on energy. So it doesn't vary on energy. So we can where I can do undo. Yes. So it doesn't vary on energy. So we can write here by for 2D density of states doesn't vary on doesn't depend on energy. So we can write it as a proportional to e to power 0. Okay, it is constant. And for density of state for 3D material, so it varies on to e to power half. Okay, so we can go through the YouTube videos of made on density of state. So please go through it. So basically for 1D it varies to the minus half power of E. For 2D density of state vary to the, it doesn't vary with the energy, so it is constant. And for 3D it varies to the half power of E. So the answer is, so it is asking for the 3-dimensional solid. Okay, so for 3-dimensional solid it varies to the half power of E. So the answer is D. Sorry, not D. I am making blunder. Okay, e to power half. The answer is A. Okay. Now I'm not gonna see answer for every question. You can check it from the answer. Okay. So for the safety purpose or for your interest, I can see question for the answer for question number 4 is A. Okay, you can see. Yeah. So I'm not going to check for if it is numerical. Yes, I'll go to check. I'll surely go to check because I may make mistake. So here for question number 4, it is A. So answer is A, and here also we have made the answer is A. So please note it down, the expression. Expression is very important. Okay. Another question you can see the next question is from the variation of molar volume of a liquid crystal glass transition temperature while that Tc cooling from melting temperature. So basically it is giving the variation of volume, molar volume, okay, molar volume to the temperature. So we know for any crystalline material or for any amorphous material, there is typical curve for molar volume or enthalpy to the temperature. So what is typical curve? For basically for liquid portion or for melt portion, the temperature decreases, and for melting point, it drastically reduced, okay. And after that, for crystalline material, when it started crystallize, so it becomes like the slope is steady, and the slope from liquid to crystallization point is steady. But when the crystallization start or below melting point, okay, so it again follow the steady path. This is for crystalline, okay. What was amorphous? For amorphous material, you can see this steady portion, it will also follow the steady portion, okay. So this is asking for the Tg. So where we get Tg? So Tg for polymeric material, right, amorphous material like glass. So for Tg, what happens for amorphous material? This go with the certain decreasing slope, means there is not sharp change, okay. So what it happens, there will be you can draw one tangent of both. Let me change the color, okay. You can draw a tangent, okay, and this tangent will decide Tg, okay. So basically so here is this is the point where we think that, oh, it changes here, okay. So virtually it changes here, but actually it goes like this one, it goes like this. So we draw one tangent here and we draw another tangent here, and this intersecting point gives the Tc. So this is the typical graph. You can typical plot. You can go through, or you can go to my YouTube video of glass transition temperature in polymer science playlist. Please go through it and see the explanation of molar volume plot, okay. So basically there also I have explained the same. So the variation of molar volume for a liquid glass transition temperature by cooling from its, so it is simply, so what it will be? So basically it will be we know very well, this one will be the Tg, we know very well. I have just explained it, okay. Like for crystalline this will be like this, for melting this will be like this. So we just take it the transit, this is melting point, so we just take it the tangent, and this one is the Tg. So this is like this one, okay. So this is the answer. So first is the answer. So first is the answer. So option A is the answer from question 5. A is the answer. So you can mark it here. Let's go to the next question. Okay. For next question. Next is the easiest question from polymer science part. It has just asked the repeating unit, right? So what is polypropylene? This is repeating unit of polypropylene, okay. You have to memorize all the repeating unit, or it's simple to remember also. If CH3 group is there in the to the main chain, so it is just PP. This is chloride, so it is repeating unit of PVC, polyvinyl chloride, and for okay, and for another portion, this is for PP, this is chloride, so polyvinyl chloride, this is benzene, so it is basically polystyrene, and this is for I think HHH, so this is simply polyethylene, okay. So answer, you can match 1 to S, and polypropylene to P, and polyvinyl chloride to this one, and polystyrene to this one, and you can find out the answer. I am not going to match it, okay. You can do it, okay. The video is getting larger, so I have to produce in many parts, so I apologize me, okay. So it's my apology. Please go to the next part also and see all the solutions and practice accordingly, and I don't want to waste your time. So the next question is from Griffith theory. So what is Griffith equation? So according to Griffith theory of brittle fracture, the fracture stress sigma f is basically root 2e gamma by pi a. What is pi? What is a? So 2a is the crack length. So a is the half of the crack length, okay, and sigma is the stress. So why I'm just following this formula, because just by seeing this diagram, this diagram is typically for Griffith fracture only, the brittle fracture only. There is already crack is given, the size is 2a, so basically it is from the Griffith equation. I just see, and here also it is given a ceramic has a fracture toughness KIC. So KIC is given as 1 megapascal meter to per half. It's very typical unit, so you have to remember it, okay. It's very important also. If this ceramic is to be exposed to maximum stress, so sigma is basically given 200 megapascal, the maximum value of half crack length. So what is in micrometer? So A is asking in micrometer, which the material does not fail is. So it is typically asking the crack length. So, at the maximum possible cracking where it can sustain the maximum fracture stress, that is sigma is equal to 200 megapascal. So how you're going to solve it? There should be some another question also, I think, data also. The loading condition for the sample is schematic, assuming geometrical factor f is given at 1.2. so basically the KIC is given, okay. So KIC, so it will not follow this formula. We can follow this formula to solve this A, since sigma is given. So but we have to given this surface energy and elastic modulus. So I think this formula is not possible. So basically, so we are not going to find out this E and then gamma. It will be longer process. So we'll just follow the formula fracture toughness. So what is formula for fracture toughness? The first mode of fracture, C for critical, okay. So KIC is formula is y sigma root pi. What is y? Y is the geometrical factor, but here it is written as geometrical factor as f. So no problem, we can write this f sigma root pi also. Here KIC is already given, it is 1 megapascal, right? Always pay attention at unit. It will make blunder, okay. So megapascal means 10 to the power 6 Pascal, okay. Now it is in SI. So 10 to the power 6 Pascal is Newton per meter square, so it is in SI. F is given as 1.2 and sigma is given as 200 megapascal. So I don't think here also we have to convert in Pascal, here also we can convert into Pascal, okay. You can write it in Pascal. So this 10 to the power 6 will be cancelled out into 10 to the power 6, and both sides you can put it in megapascal also, okay. Megapascal will be cancelled out to on both sides, or you can write in Pascal also. So 10 to the power 6 will be cancelled out, and root pi into A. So by solving here also, this will be nothing but you can solve here. So you can solve for A also, okay. So it will be root pi A is equal to 1 by 200 into 1.2, I think, okay. So now you can solve it. I don't want to waste anyone's time. You just solve it for pi A is equal to 1 by 1.2 means 2.4 into 100 means into 100. So I have just multiplied 2 into 100 the whole square, okay. So simply it is nothing but 1 by 240 the whole square into 1 by pi. So A is the answer. You can find out. You will surely get the answer, okay. I'm not making this video much longer. So just find out the answer. It will be answer, I'm sure about it, okay. So I'll be uploading the next part of it, remaining questions, remaining I think 13 or 14 questions. So you can go for that video also for the complete solution. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe our channel also, okay, so that you can get the notification of next video.